guys, it's Rebecca. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. Today's video is going to be my April reading wrap up. I was able to get through 14 books this month, but before you guys freak out, they were all on audio. My library Overdrive app got a whole bunch of new titles. I don't know, like they just revamped the whole thing, the whole library, I guess. And I got a whole bunch of titles from there, and then you guys know I got an Audible subscription for my birthday a few months back, and so I've been listening to those as well. The Plus catalog has a bunch of like regular books that I already own. They're kind of older books, but it's helping me get through them a lot faster. So I know I didn't actually read any this month. I just listened to audiobooks, but I got through 14 of them, so I'm very excited. I'm going to make this really fast, go through these books really as fast as I can, because I don't want this video to be super long. So as always with my A to C reading challenge, I'm trying to read one book for each letter of the alphabet, and as of last month I had 15 letters left and I was able to complete 5. So I completed letter A, and for that is Allegedly by Tiffany D. Jackson. In this book, we follow our main character who has been charged with the killing of a baby that her mom was babysitting. She's found with a dead infant, and so she's the one who is charged. But she is a very unreliable narrator. You really don't know who's telling the truth. And whenever she talks about, you know, oh, they charged me with killing a baby allegedly, so even her makes kind of light of the fact that she's been allegedly charged with murder. So I really enjoyed this book because, like I said, she's a very unreliable narrator. You really don't know if she's telling the truth or not. At first I was like, oh my gosh, this poor girl, she's innocent. But then as we read the book, and I was like, well, no, she's not innocent, she did it. And then towards the end, you're like, I have no idea if she did or not. At least I was all over the place with this book. If you want to read something about an unreliable character, I think this is a really good story to start with. Then for my 52 book club, that is a book club where we're trying to finish 52 books, or in my case, 52 prompts, just because I read more than 52 books a year. This book fits for the prompt of a selfish character, because our main character is unreliable and she may or may not have selfish reasons. The next letter that I completed was the letter H, and for that I went with Alice Finney's His and Hers. This is actually the last book that I read this month, and this is another mystery. This is a mystery thriller book. Alice Finney tends to write that kind of book, and we follow 2 different timelines, 3 different narrators, and a set of murders that are happening. And this is kind of one of those stories, you know, they say that there's 3 sides to each story: his, hers, and the truth. And that happens to be the 3 narrators that we listen to. This was a great book. It started off a little slow for me, I'm not gonna lie. But maybe about a third into the book, then that's when it really picked up for me. This book has a lot of twists and turns up until the very end. Like the very end, like you think like towards the end, like when everything gets resolved, you're like, oh, okay, so this is what happened. But up until the very end, twists and turns. I really enjoyed this book. I'm glad that it kind of redeemed itself, because like I said, I wasn't really into it at the beginning, but because of the ending, that made me like it a lot. And then this also fits one of the prompts for my 52 book club for a book that includes a garden, and there's a significance of the garden in this book. So it's not just the garden has a purpose. So really enjoyed it. If you guys like murder mystery books, I think this is a great one. Then I have this big mambo jumbo book. This is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. This fits the letter J for my A to C reading challenge. And if you guys watched my wrap up last month, you guys know that I had about a fourth of this, or maybe less. I had like maybe this much to read to finish listening on the audiobook. And I told you guys not to be too shocked, because I wasn't gonna read all this in 1 month. And sure enough, that's what happened. I kind of enjoyed this book. I don't know how to really feel about it. It's very slow. It's kind of too descriptive. I feel like it could have been about 100 pages shorter. I still enjoyed myself while reading it, but it was one of those books that I can easily put down. There's some books that I'm just kind of like, like I'll put it down and I'll pick it up later. and there's some books that I just want to finish. Unfortunately, this one wasn't one of them. We follow this Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. It's kind of like a teacher and an apprentice, and then as the apprentice is learning, he starts developing his own ideals of how things should be. We live in this book is centered in a society where magicians exist, but they don't use magic. They just it's kind of more of an academic thing more than an actual thing to do. You just study magic, but you don't use it. And then we have Jonathan Strange, who, while he's learning from Mr. Norrell, he thinks that magic should be used, and then they start clashing. So I enjoyed it. Like I said, it was an easily put downable book. Maybe I'll reread it later on, maybe a few years from now, once my reading palette has matured, I guess, a little bit more. But it was just okay for me. This also fit the 52 book prompt for an alternate history novel. I had to Google like samples of an alternate history book novels, and then this was in that list, and since I had it, I decided to pick it up, so that's it. The next book that I completed was N, and that is The Nurses by Alexandra Robbins. This it's called The Nurses, A Year of Secrets, Drama, and Miracles with the Heroes of the Hospital. I loved this book. We follow 4 or 5 nurses, I think, in different areas of the hospital, and we just hear about their anecdotes and what they go through as nurses, their perspectives. There was one nurse who I felt like she was really whiny. Like she was just like, oh, you know, like nurses, we're not appreciated, nobody appreciates our work, and we work so hard, and woe me. And yes, that's true, but like you have to be tough to be a nurse. Like you can't just like wind your way through nursing school through your nursing career, talking about how you know administration is not supportive, how you're always working short staff. Like it's a work of art in a thankless position. Like yes, people are thankful, like it's not completely thankless, but it feels like it's thankless most of the time. But you just gotta do it because it comes from the heart. So the fact that she was just always whining and whining and whining, like she annoyed me a little bit. She was the only one who I didn't like her point of view. We follow another nurse who develops a substance dependency. She's stealing narcotics from the hospital, and we follow her journey through how she ends up in that place and then recovering and pushing through. Just things like that, things that maybe like you wouldn't necessarily hear from nurses. But I really enjoyed it. I have another nurse book that I'm saving for the month of May, so hopefully I can get to it, but this one was really good. I really enjoyed it. The last A to Z that I read was for the letter Y, and it is You Had Me At Hola by Alexis Daria. I really enjoyed this book. This is definitely an adult book. I thought it was going to be like a cutesy, chick-lit kind of book, but this is definitely a sexy book. And I wasn't expecting that because of the cover. Like I thought it was going to be just like, at first I thought it was a YA book, but once I started reading it, I was like, oh no, this is an adult book. But then as I really was reading it, I was like, okay, this is a romance book, not a chick-lit type book. But we follow Alexis and not Alexis, Jasmine, and her co-actor person, Ashton. At first they don't like each other, but it's one of those stories where the main characters don't get along at first. They're starring in a telenovela together. She doesn't speak Spanish fluently, but she's playing the main character in a telenovela, so Ashton's kind of like, how did you get this position? And then Ashton's really focused on his career. He wants nothing to distract him from being successful. So we follow these two characters as they try to learn to get along, and then eventually they fall for each other. This was a fun read. I listened to it super fast, and yeah, it was a good one. Then moving on to the prompts from the 52 book club that don't fit the A to Z. I read on Cecil Beach by Ian McEwan. How do you say that? I don't know. But this fit for the prompt, hold on, of an author over 65. I believe he is like 70 something or 60 something, up there. He's over 75, 65. No, yeah, 65 years old. And he's the author of Atonement. Now, I have never read Atonement, but I saw the movie and I hated the movie. Like, I was angry. If you guys have seen that movie, you guys know why. So I couldn't bring myself to read the book because I was just so upset with the movie. Like, what happens in the movie just like upset me so much. So I figured, let's see how this guy goes. I know that this movie was made with Saoirse Ronan, and I don't know who the guy is, but I haven't seen it, so I wanted to read the book so I could watch the movie. Anyway, it's a very short book. We follow these two kids who get married. They're very young, and they are both virgins. And the guy is really excited to finally get married so he can, you know, have sex with his wife. But she is not interested in sex at all. She's just not interested in having sex. And so she refuses him throughout this book. And we follow the challenge that the couple experiences with a man who wants to have sex with his wife and a wife who has no desire to. It was okay. I wasn't attached to any of the characters. I didn't really care. I was kind of annoyed and bored. I'm glad that it was a short book because I didn't spend a lot of time on it. The audiobook was, I think, was like 6 hours long, and I listened to it at 1.75, so it was a little bit over 3 hours. So it wasn't like I spent too much time on it, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, unfortunately. Then the other prompt that I completed for the 52 book club was the prompt number 47, a character with a disability. And for that, I listened to an Audible original story called Unspoken by Luke Daniels. Apparently, he's a very famous person in the book narrating world. And we follow, it's a memoir of his, and we follow the story about his son, how his son was born with a disability. And he lives to live about, I want to say about 2 years old, or a little bit under 2 years old when he passes, a little boy. And so we follow the journey of how the struggle of what it was to raise a son with a disability, and to see the child get worse and worse with time, how it affected his personal life, how it affected his marriage, how it affected his professional life. It was a really, really sad story, so I feel bad like giving it 5 out of 5 stars, but it was amazing. If you guys have Audible and you're able to get your hands on that story, Unspoken by Luke Daniels, it's a great story, very heart-wrenching but moving, but it has a nice like a very uplifting ending. You're not like left depressed, you're left with a sense of hope. And I really enjoyed that book. It's an amazing story. And now for the rest of the books that don't fit any letters or any prompts, I have here The Likeness by Tana French. This is the second book in the In the Woods type series. This is kind of like a follow-up story to In the Woods, which is the first book. And I read this one because I wanted to watch the TV show on, is it on Stars? I think it's where it is. And in this book, we follow Detective Cassie. She is a girl detective who is investigating a murder of a girl who looks exactly like her. And when they find this girl, they find her with an ID with a name that Cassie used to use when she went undercover on another case. So not only does this girl look like Cassie, but she has a name that Cassie used in the past. So we're trying to investigate how the death of this girl is connected to the work that Cassie did many years ago, and why the girl was like, how did the girl know to use Cassie's old undercover name? This is my second book by Tana French, and I still feel like these books should be shorter. This book is 460 pages, and I think it could have been under 400 pages, honestly. They start kind of slow. There's a lot of world building. There's a lot of details. I mean, I enjoyed it, but I feel like it should be less. Now, I'm a little worried because I do own 4 other books from Tana French from the In the Woods series. I believe each one covers a different detective in the task force. Then I have Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. I didn't buy this at Target. All my books have come from Book Outlet most of the time. But anyway, I've never read A Man Called Oval. This is my first Frederick Bachman book, and I really enjoyed it. I was telling the 52 Book Club people on Facebook that I was expecting a book that talks about people with anxiety disorders, but this book is about a bank robbery. And it was awesome. It was really, really great. I really enjoyed the story. I think this is, if I'm not mistaken, this is not as loved as the Beartown series type and the Man Called Ove, whatever book, but this is my first book and I really enjoyed it. So I feel like for me, it's gonna go up from here. It's gonna go up higher, and I'm gonna really enjoy it. Hopefully that's the case. But yeah, really, really enjoyed it. I think it's a great story. We follow several characters and it's just great. Then I read also One by One by Ruth Ware. I unfortunately didn't really care for this book that much. This is another retelling of Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. We follow this group of this company, like this tech company that goes on a retreat to the cabins in the woods, not in the woods, in like a ski resort. And then someone goes missing, and then they think that it's been a murder plot. And then as they're trying to investigate who killed her, the other people start dying. The other people from the company start dying. So just because, like, if I had known that this was kind of inspired by And Then There Were None, and I knew what was going to happen, then I probably would have not minded. But the fact that I wasn't expecting that to happen, that kind of like brought the book down a little bit. It's probably my least favorite book of Ruth Ware. I've read all of her books and I've enjoyed them all, but this one is definitely my least favorite. Then I read My Lovely Wife by Samantha Downing. This book is about a couple who enjoys murdering women as, you know, their bonding exercise. It's not a spoiler. That's what the plot is of this book. We follow a couple who they seem to be normal people, but they are serial killers, and something goes wrong with one of the murders, and we go from there. I don't want to say anymore because then I'll be spoiling it, but this was a great book. I read a lot of dark books this month. I don't know what's wrong with me, but yeah, it was a really fun book. I didn't see the ending coming. It was great. Highly recommend. Don't judge me, guys, but I read Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer. I have all the Twilight books. I didn't read the 10th anniversary, the one where the gender is swapped, but this is kind of like nostalgic to me. So I read this. The Midnight Sun is Twilight told from Edward's point of view, and now I can tell. Before, when they said that 50 Shades of Grey was fan fiction of Twilight, I could never make the connection. I was like, I just don't see how it's related. Now that I see it from Edward's point of view, I can totally see Christian Grey on Edward. Edward is creepy, he's manipulative, he's obsessive, he's a psycho. To me, what he does is not romantic. I don't know if Stephanie Meyer is gonna do like each book, because this was really just Twilight. I thought it was gonna be the whole 4 books into one, but no, this was just Twilight. So I'm wondering if she's gonna do like New Moon, Eclipse, and Breaking Dawn from Edward's point of view as well. So we'll see if she does. I'll probably read them. I did find myself enjoying this book. There you go. While I was reading it. So if she comes out with the other ones, I'll probably read them too. And then last but not least, I read Anna Kaye by Jenny Lee. I was really disappointed in this book. I hated every single one. This book is supposed to be a play on Anna Karenina, but oh my god, I could not stand any of these characters. This felt like Gossip Girl. You know, when you forget you're reading about high school kids because of all the partying and the drugs and the sex that's going on. You think that you're talking about college kids, but no, you're talking about rich kids that are in high school. They're 16, 17 years old. And maybe just because I wasn't rich or I didn't go to a fancy rich school, it's hard for me to believe that there are kids that behave that way. Maybe there are, and I was just had a very innocent high school experience. I don't know, but yeah, I didn't care for any of the characters. I like, oh, poor rich kid problems. Like, I have no sympathy for any of them. Didn't like it, didn't care for it. I know there's a second book. I don't know if I'll pick it up, but I'm not in a hurry to do so. So anyway, guys, those are all the books that I read. I'm sorry this video is super long. I hope you guys enjoyed and kind of got an idea of what I read. I know I kind of went really fast through some of them. But anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.